Hey everyone, Matt here with another edition of Ask Ron. Ron, how are you doing today?
I'm good, ready to go.
All right, we have quite a few questions today, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. The
I
first one
figured,
we have is
figured
from,
sitting in the office, we finally opened up the building, didn't we? We actually have people coming in now.
yeah, thank goodness. It's nice to see somebody else's face in person now.
But I'm still sitting at home here, so
Yeah,
working.
well, maybe next week will be an in-person Ask Ron. We'll see.
All right. Hey,
All right, first question we have today is from Fernando Diaz. He does not give his state, but Fernando says, I have a lease option that I did 2 years ago. I am the optionor. The optionee is ready to exercise the option. I have a lease option with the seller. The bank is asking for the purchase agreement between my lease optionee and the seller. Is that the correct way to do the paperwork?
yes, got to go back to the seller now and get a new contract from the seller to the buyer for the full purchase price you sold it to the buyer for, and then the difference between what the seller is owed and what you collect should show on the closing statement as an option fee or a consulting fee or whatever your closing agent wants it to be, not commission if you're not licensed.
Got it. All right. That answers Fernando's question. The next one we have is from Pauline in Texas.
Hold on, man.
Oh,
Fernando, make sure that your seller clearly understands now that you're going to get money out of this deal, and they're not going to get all the money. They're just going to get what they're owed. And prevent any misunderstandings at closing when the seller sees that the house actually sold for more than what they sold it to you for.
absolutely. That's a good point. All right. Next one we have is Pauline from Texas. Pauline says, Hi, Ron. I'm new and I have started getting leads and trying to decide which ones are good to get my VA to call. I have two questions. The first one is there a criteria I should apply to make this decision? And then
Yes, they have a house for sale.
yeah, I thought that one was a pretty no-brainer.
Which ones are good or which ones are bad until the VA calls them. The VA should call all of them, at least assuming they're in the area where you want to work and they have a house for sale.
Got it. And then the next one Pauline has is that she sees many of the leads are overpriced when comparing them. Are they still worth having my VA call to see if we can negotiate them down?
Yes, because it can almost always be negotiated down and overpriced. I'm a little concerned that they are overpriced. I'm concerned about your ability to read true comps, and I hope you're not using the Zestimate on Zillow for your value because that is almost always low, which is an advantage because sellers use that to sell their house with, and it's almost always low. I was looking at one just a while ago. The estimate is $353,000. That house is worth every bit of $400,000, and it's pretty easy to prove if you know how to actually read the comps. So I would have a question about whether your ARV is correct to begin with.
Gotcha. All right, avoid that estimate. Next question we have is from Joseph and Danielle Rivera in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
They say, what is the purpose of the limited power of attorney document?
Actually, I think I already answered that one, but I don't even use the document. I don't. I just get a authorization to release signed by the sellers, and I use that when I need it. But I don't use the limited power of attorney, but it does give you the power to sign anything that needs to get signed, except the deed. You cannot transfer ownership of a house on a deed. I mean, on a limited power of attorney. Sellers actually have to sign the deed.
Got it. That's important information to know. All right. Let's see. The next one we have is from Tina Emmons from California. Tina says, I'm selling my residence to my daughter. I am putting it in a land trust. She will take over my payments on the existing loan. I have equity, but don't need it now. I transfer the beneficial interest in the trust to her, and then what is the rest of the process? Do we need a P&S agreement or just a note for the equity and mortgage to attach it to the house?
Well, it depends on whether we're looking at this from a tax point of view or whether we're looking at it from a legal point of view, because selling your house to your daughter is likely a taxable event, Tina. You need to be checking with your CPA on that. However, if your daughter is already in your trust as a beneficiary and something happens to you, it's her house, but still, frankly, if the powers to be were to find out, she'd still be charged with income tax. So this is a bigger question than I can answer for you, but make sure you check with your CPA. I don't care about the legalese stuff. Property's in a trust, special interest. Nothing's going to happen downtown. Nothing's going to happen to the state, no matter what you do. But if you do sell this to your daughter, there is a sale from you to her, and this should be reported to your accountant and show on your tax returns. And again, check with your CPA to find out what that's going to do tax-wise.
Nice. All right.
Okay.
Moving down the line here, we have Michael from Arizona. Michael says, I am brand new, a sales trainer, and there are so many avenues that you teach, and just wanted to see what you would do if you were me, where you would start, and why.
Well, first of all, where I would start is learning everything I can as fast as I can, like I did when I started. I was broke, and I just did everything I could to get that information. Because you can start a lot of places in real estate, but there's only two sides of it. There's pretty house business, there's the ugly house business. Many people come in and they start wholesaling houses because it's so bloody simple. I mean, an idiot could wholesale a house. Some are. Put a property under contract, flip the contract, never own a house, never need any money except the nurse money deposit. Downside of that is you got to find those deals today, and that will not be out of the MLS system. So you need a little bit of training on how to go get the leads and how to call them and so forth. So I think if I were you, I'd start by investing in whatever training that you can. We got a quick start school. That's a 4-day event. We do it every month. In fact, we're doing it live here in Jacksonville this month. That would be the best thing you could do for yourself. If that's out of your reach, then my book is on, my course is online. I have a terms course available to you for $897, and there's several other things. Go to ronlegrand.com and see what you can find. And there's a million YouTube lessons, but they're not going to train you. They're just designed to answer 1 or 2 questions. They're not designed to be the complete training that you need. So start where you can start.
Got it.
Go ahead, Matt.
That was a great question by Michael. All right. The last few we have are from Edgar down here in Florida. The first one from Edgar is, hi, Ron. How do we construct the payments when the seller has a first mortgage and a HELOC as a second?
Well, you're going to buy it on a wraparound mortgage, so it's no different. Honestly, if you're buying it on a wraparound mortgage, it doesn't make much difference what's owed underneath, as long as it's not more than what you owe the seller. The wraparound mortgage is going to be worded the same. Nowhere on your contract does your first and second mortgage show. Your contract just shows the amount that you're going to buy from the seller for. The attorney will handle the rest. He will mention these 2 debts probably within the wraparound mortgage, but they don't affect the document that he's going to create. You owe them X, period. And what they owe is, I can't say it's none of your business because it is some of your business on what they owe, but does not affect the document that the attorney's going to create.
Got it. All right. The next one from Edgar is, can I do a land trust for a house that still has a mortgage on it? If so, can a bank call a loan due considering that the deed is not in my name yet?
That, I'm not even sure what you're asking me. Putting a house into a land trust has no relevance to what's owed on it or what the debt is underneath. Nobody can stop you from putting a house into a land trust. However, you can't put a house into a land trust if you don't own that house. The owner can put it into a land trust, but you can't. So if the deed is not in your name, I'm not sure how this question is even relevant. If you were to buy it from the current owner, then you would buy it in a land trust, and you would probably be the beneficial interest of the land trust.
Got it. So you have to get the deed first before you get the land trust.
Yeah. You can't have a land trust unless the house is deeded into the trust. Trust is not funded until the deed is transferred to the trust.
All right. Well, that answers Edgar's question. He has a few more. The next one he has is, when will I have to pay for closing costs if I buy a house using a land contract?
Using a land contract, you will still have some closing costs. You have to pay it the day of closing, the day you purchase.
All right. That was an easy one.
I hope you're not confusing that with a lease purchase now. On a lease purchase, you have no closing costs until somebody actually buys the house, other than title search. And well, that's about it on a lease purchase. As soon as you get the contract signed, you order title search and make sure your title is clear. There are no closing costs then until your tenant buyer cashes you out.
Nice. All right. We have 3 more from Edgar. This next one is, how do I answer when the seller starts asking questions about my LLC when I propose a wraparound mortgage using LLC as a mortgagee?
Edgar, I would submit that if those sellers asking those kind of questions, you're talking too much and raising issues that are your fault. In other words, you're got diarrhea of the mouth there. You should never even mention how you're going to buy the property until you fill out the contract. And I put at the top the LLC, as trustee. I don't think I've ever had a seller ask me anything about that. So you've created your own problem, I can assure you of that. So I'd have to know exactly what the seller's asking you, but I just tell them, well, everything I buy is in an LLC. And in this case, everything I buy is in a trust, and the LLC is the trustee. I don't know how to answer a question, but I don't know what their question really is.
Yeah. All right. Coming down to the wire now, we have 2 more. Edgar says, how should I construct a subject to when the seller has a reverse mortgage?
Well, you better be very careful with a reverse mortgage now. Yeah, you can buy it. You can buy it subject to. You know if there's any loan the bank's going to call due, it's going to be that reverse mortgage if they find out that property is sold. So if you're going to buy a house with a reverse mortgage on it, first of all, that seller has to have clear disclosure with an attorney that bank can call that loan due on them. Probably will, in fact. You know, the bank has every right to. There's no payments being made. Why does the bank have to call it due immediately? So you better have a short-term exit strategy available if you're going to buy that house. Now, if I'm going to buy the house and put it right back on the market and looking for retail qualified buyers to cash me out, that loan don't bother me a bit, but because I'm going to pay it off shortly. But if I'm going to buy that house and my intentions are to put a lease option tenant buyer in it, that could create a quagmire and a big problem if that loan starts being called due while that tenant buyer is in there after they give you a big chunk of money. You need to know in your head that you've got a way to get that bank off your back if that were to happen before you buy that house.
Got it. That's good to know.
I'd suggest your only exit on that probably should be to cash out of it as fast as you can. So that means you got to have enough equity in it to make it worth doing.
Yeah, it definitely could be a precarious situation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last question we have today, Ron. It is from Edgar. And Edgar says, I have currently an LLC, and let's call it LLCA. Can I create an LLCB that is solely owned by LLCA? Then I can create a land trust with LLCB as the trustee and LLCA as the beneficiary.
Edgar, you can do all that, but I have no idea why you want to. I mean, it accomplishes absolutely nothing. LLCA can be the trustee for B, and B can be the trustee for A anytime you want. I don't know why you want B owned by A. It's not going to help you from an asset protection point of view. They're going to go right down to the owners of the last one in the line anyway. It's how you own these LLCs that's more important. And I have a lesson on that on the Gold Club site, because you really need to get trained on how to own these LLCs, because from an asset protection point of view, that's going to be the difference whether they get your assets or not. stacking LLCs really doesn't accomplish anything.
Got it. Hopefully Edgar checks out that video. All right, Ron, I think that was it for today.
Okay, man. All right, guys, here we are, almost 6 months almost into the year. We're in June now, so let's get out there and get something going. Year's going to be gone before you know it. Economy is still looking good. If I were you, I'd get prepared for when the economy isn't looking so good, and the only way to do that is get your cash flow up, out there and get some. By the way, if you can get houses in this really hot economy, they're going to be a lot easier when the economy turns, and it absolutely, most certainly will turn. Of course, nobody knows when. They all have a worthless opinion, but you know that it cannot stay up like this forever. So get out there and buy houses. I got students buying them all over the place. I got a boot camp coming up here in Jacksonville this month now. I strongly suggest you get to that. It's live. There's no better event than a live event. You'll see us do a lot of deals. Hopefully yours. You bring them to class. Bring them to class, and we'll call them for you and see how many deals we can generate out of them. And then we've got one-on-one help available for you if we do get you some deals. So it's your opportunity to come live. This is only the second live event we've done since the COVID. So see what you can do to get here. Yep, planes do fly into Jacksonville on a daily basis, and we're open for business. We're in Florida, for crying out loud. In fact, you won't see very many masks floating around here anymore, but you're certainly entitled to wear one if you want. And then we got a summit coming up. We're working on that right now. Just so you'll know, it's going to be the first week of September. It's going to be my birthday week. And we're going to tie my birthday into it, my 75th birthday this year. So we're going to do something special for you then as well. And we got Paper Power coming up actually next week as well. If you haven't registered for that, it's free. It's a 2-day event with Bob Leonetti and I on the business of the paper that's attached to real estate. In other words, mortgages and deeds of trust, current mortgages, as well as defaulted mortgages, which is a gold mine within the business that most people don't know anything about. It's a 2-day event. It's a one-time only event. And also you'll learn how to sell a property with owner financing and then sell off that note for cash immediately, which is something not one out of 100,000 people would ever even dream that could be done. So it's a very important event for you, and it's free. So get signed up for it if you're not already. It's called Paper Power, and I'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, Ron.